Hi guys, this is Dan. Welcome back to my channel. Today is all about fantasies. March was a fantastic month for reading and I devoured some incredible books. By the end of the video, we will be diving into a tier ranking. The best of the best, the good reads, and some meh. But before we get into the ranking, let's check about all the fantastic, amazing stories I have explored this month. If you crave epic fantasy adventures but lack a trusty dragon mount, fear not. Subscribe to this channel for fantasy reviews, recommendation, and enough fantasy content to fuel your imagination for a lifetime. Without further ado, let's get back to the books. The first book I finished in February is the one that I really like. It is Of Darkness and Light by Ryan Cahill, the second book of the Bound and the Broken series. It is a fantastic read, especially for those of you who are into epic fantasy. You know, when I read the first book, I found it pretty average. The plot and the character were somehow typical for this genre. But let me tell you, this series is gonna get better and better. This book took place right after the massive cliffhanger of the first book. Kellen's group had to reform after this conflict. This group will travel a really long way and meet some old friends. So thankfully we got a summary of the first book in this one, so you won't miss out any details. This POV provides a picture of what is going on in the south and how they're gonna make their way back to the main group. And the twist by the end of the story just boom. What? Our dear the Glazed companion, Dan, is on a mission to rescue him. Although we didn't get too much from his POV, it seems that he is manipulated by the mage. Kellen's sister, Ella, had to go on this journey with an unpleasant companion. But I found myself quite enjoying their dynamic, especially the second half of the book. We also got Darlin, I hope I pronounced his name correctly, who's gonna to investigate what is going on underground, all the politics, all the schemings among the dwarves. There is also a POV about a character that had appeared in the first novella. When I come across his name, I had to double check, is it really you in the first novella? His squad is like the guardian of this world, and we're gonna be back to the village and see what is going on after the three boys had left. We also got a new POV, which is about a rebellion in Fortra. Their worms is like the dragons in the rest of the world. This POV, or this character who joined the rebellion, seems to have some connection with another character, Asen. Overall, the story is getting more interesting and more complicated with more players on the board. Even though there are quite a lot of POVs scattered across Euphoria, I didn't feel overwhelmed or lost in the plot because the writing style here is really accessible. Sometimes the POV of the next chapter is hinted at the previous one, which I think is a neat trick. One little piece of advice here, make sure you also check out all the novellas. More and more references are being made to it as the series progresses. I had an absolute blast with this series and hopefully I can read the next novella, The Exile, really soon. And fingers crossed, I'm gonna be up to date with this series before summer kicks in. The second book I finished is also an interesting one. Let me tell you, it's a fascinating one. It is The Book of Doors by Gareth Brown, Gospel GSFF February book. It is an urban fantasy that took place in our very own world. In this book, we're gonna follow Casey, who worked in a bookshop. One day she received a mysterious book called The Book of Doors, like the title of this one, from one of her loyal customers called Mr. Weber. But this book is not an ordinary one. When you open a door with this book in your hand, you can literally go anywhere in this world. Even cooler, this book is not constrained by time. You can travel to the past or even to the future. Of course, this book is not the only magical book in this world. There are other books that can grant you with different powers. Let's say you can be speedy, you can sneak into the shadow, you can inflict pain upon others. As you can imagine, these powerful books would attract the wrong attention. But fear not, along comes Mr. Fox, who wanted to keep all these books in a safe place. Together with Casey and her best friend Izzy, they will try to collect all these magical books and keep them safe. The pace of this book is actually pretty fast. Even though this book involves quite a lot of time traveling, you won't find yourself confused or lost. Every little detail is explained, like why certain things happen at that particular time or why this character behaved in such way. You will find all your questions being answered by the end of the story, which I find it impressive. There are some emotional moments, some of them are heartbreaking and some of them are heartwarming. Our main character, Casey, has to learn to grow as a person along the journey. One area I think can be improved on is the middle part of the story. If there was a little bit more happening to Casey's story, it would add a sense of danger and desperation. Nonetheless, this book is really fast-paced and I have a good time with this one. The third book I finished is by an author I hadn't explored before, Mark Lawrence. It is The Book That Wouldn't Burn. And let me tell you, it is quite an fascinating read. The story revolves around two main characters, Eva and Nifira. Eva, with his non-biological siblings, were raised in this massive library, home to thousands of books with diverse knowledge. But rather than feeling content, Eva felt trapped and longed to rescue a girl who he has never met before. Nifira, the other protagonist, was from the harsh Dustland. Due to a series of unfortunate events and her innate talent, she found herself potentially becoming the librarian of the city of Krath. Intrigued by this grand, massive library, she often snuck in to quench her curiosity. As you can probably guess, this book is all about this massive library. It paints the picture that knowledge can bestow wisdom, but also cautions that it is like playing with fire. As the story unfolds, Nifira and Eva will uncover truths that can dramatically shift their understanding of the world. Unexpectedly, this book once again involves time traveling, helping the characters and us, the readers, dig depth of the narrative. And trust me, the major plot twist would leave you stunned. Overall, I had a good time with this book. Apart from the intriguing plot, the writing style is actually whimsically poetic. However, I do wish the pacing could be a little bit faster. It did take me a while to get myself immersed to this world, but once you're near the ending, you don't want to put this book down because it was so intense. The ending leaves you hanging a little bit. It feels like we are still in the middle of a danger. So I guess I have to check out the next book, The Book That Broke the World, really soon. The final book I've been immersing in and nearly done with is The Sons of Darkness by Gaurav Mohanty. I am literally halfway through the book and I still got 5 days left in March. Keep my fingers crossed that I can finish this book by the end of the month. Now I can't spill too many beans about this book just yet. The first chapter of this book took place 1,000 years ago and then we will move to now, 1,000 years later. I think there are 6 POVs in total, which is quite a lot. The story involves a republic that was formed by overthrowing the Empire's family. Now the Empire want to reclaim what was lost and the republic is actually running low on resources, so they have to figure out a plan. We also get to see another part of the world where a low-born character climbing up the social ladder with a noble acting as his mentor. There are some complications along the way which involves an unexpected love affair. And guess what? We even got a school setting and also a perspective about a torturer. So far halfway through, I am not loving it, but I am not hating it. There's rather a large chunk of information you need to process, especially for me, someone who is not familiar with Indian myths and legends. The narrative hops from one region to the next one, swiftly yet smoothly. There is a tangible thread that ties these POVs together, but the sheer volume of rich detail can sometimes make it tricky to keep up. From a quick glance ahead, it looks like these POVs would eventually come together, so we shall see how the plot gonna unravels. Apart from these 4 physical books, I did manage to finish an audiobook, The Crown of Midnight by Sarah J. Maas. I do have a good time listening to that book and I think it is definitely a step up from the first book, The Throne of Glass. We've got more smarts and a love triangle with Dorian and Chaos that's heating things up. At times it seems like things are going so well with Chaos, but bam, something happened. And then there are some moments with Dorian and you will be thinking, are you going to make it, mate? The world building is getting meatier and more players are joining the game. And our characters are finding out some more clues, secrets about how this world gonna function. Some characters threw me a loop. Nehemia. Do you agree? I think Nehemia is a little bit of a control freak. It's like emotionally blackmailing Selena to do certain things. Save me, we are friends, but we are not. I hide some secrets from you. I always say reading Sarah J. Maas is like watching a drama-filled sitcom, rom-com, reality show, whatever got you. It is super easy to follow and a real hoot to read. Alright everyone, that's it for all the fantasy book I managed to tackle in March. Remember, these are just my thoughts and I would love to hear yours in the comment. What fantasy books did you devour this month and did any of this title make it to your TBR pile? And of course, the big review, the tier ranking. On top, I have Of Darkness and Light by Veronica Hill and also The Book of Doors by Gareth Brown. Below, surprisingly, we've got The Crown of Midnight by Sarah J. Maas. And here comes to the bottom. It doesn't mean they are terrible books, it's just by comparison. They are not as nice as the ones I have read. We've got The Book That Wouldn't Burn by Mark Lawrence and also Sons of Darkness by Gaurav Mohanty. If you have enjoyed traversing these fantastical realms with me, don't forget to wield the power of the like button and join the fellowship by subscribing. I will see you real soon. Goodbye.